Marvel is kind of doing horrible right now. Phase 4 has been a huge abomination, but you can give them some credit because at least they're not doing as bad as DC. Between Warner Bros. Going under new ownership and HBO Max being merged with Discovery Plus and the Batgirl movie being canceled, and then of course the biggest elephant in the room, Ezra Miller, DC is in worse shape than your average American, and here's why. Warner Bros. And DC have continuously tried to replicate the success of Marvel by creating a new cinematic universe, but every time they've tried, they've barfed out some of the worst movies that I've ever seen. Just F-tier superhero movies. They have no patience and they just want to launch a big old cinematic universe right out the gate without laying any groundwork or establishing any superheroes. We saw with Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, they tried to rush through the origin stories of 6 heroes, leading to some awful pacing, and then those 2 movies ended up building towards one of the worst superhero team-up movies of all time. Actually, no, one of the worst movies of all time. Justice League was honestly unwatchable. And then they somewhat fixed this with Zack Snyder's Justice League by making it 4 hours long so that they could cover the origin stories of all the heroes. But that introduces the problem that no one's ever going to want to rewatch the movie because it's 4 hours and nobody has that kind of time. And then they released a whole bunch of forgettable side movies that ranged from okay and cute to just awful, like abominably terrible. So in conclusion, you have an awful cinematic universe that nobody wants to watch. But now, there's this new David Zaslav guy who seems to have a plan. He said he has this new 10-year plan to reboot the DCEU and make it like cool and new and as good as Marvel, he said. So I'm looking forward to that, but there's a problem. Apparently all the people who work at DC have said they don't know anything about this. And this new 10-year plan is news to them, like they never heard of this. So it sounds like the CEO sort of came in and made a bunch of big changes without telling anybody, and apparently a lot of the people who work at DC are kind of mad about this because the first big move that he made in his effort to steer the DC universe in a better direction was cancel this $70 million Batgirl movie. So naturally all the people working on this movie were super pissed off because they're like, what? We worked for 3 years on this thing and apparently it was almost finished, and now you're just gonna completely can the whole project and not even give it a direct to HBO Max release. People are trying to say that this is a heartless move by a greedy corporate executive, and that's true, but it's a necessary move. Kevin Feige didn't make the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe super successful by just letting the directors do what they want and letting their imaginations run wild. He had to rein things in, he had to make harsh cuts, and that's how we got the great direction that we have in the Marvel movies. But in DC, they don't have somebody overseeing all the projects in their cinematic universe. They just have directors come in and pick a project or a character that they want to make a movie about and then go off and do whatever they want with it. And clearly, that's not been a successful business model because DC has been horrible. But now, this David Zaslav guy, who's clearly a smart businessman, is like, hey, Marvel is the most successful superhero franchise in all of human history. Maybe we should take a page out of their book and just copy everything they do, okay? And that starts with having a Kevin Feige. And it looks like he is either going to be the Kevin Feige or he's going to get someone else to do it, which is good. It looks like the DC universe won't be quite as horrible anymore. And it looks like David Zaslav and whoever he's making these decisions with know what they're doing, because in my book, canceling a Batgirl movie is a good move. Not to be rude or anything, but Batgirl is not a very good character, okay? When you have less good versions of iconic characters, people are always gonna compare your character to that far better character. So you're sort of setting yourself up for a lot of criticism that you wouldn't get if you were doing an original superhero, or just a completely different superhero who isn't a ripoff of another one. So yes, I think we do need some more female superheroes, but Batgirl? Really? Like, she's such a lame character. What happened to, like, Wonder Woman, you know? And all the other ones. So whether or not you like David Zaslav, in my opinion, the DC universe in the future will be better because of him. But I'm talking like the more distant future, because as of right now, this whole Flash situation does not really seem to be going in the DC universe's favor. As of right now, Ezra Miller is hiding from the police, and there's a whole bunch of other allegations, and of course there's that video of him choking a woman. Some people have said that he like groomed their kids and just did a whole bunch of other R-rated stuff that you definitely don't want to be involved in. So naturally, this has generated a lot of negative press for this new Flash movie that he's in. And DC sort of has themselves in a pickle here, because on one hand, they spent $300 million on this new Flash movie that was supposed to make a ton of money and basically reset the DC universe so that they could go in this new direction that David Zaslav wants them to go in. But on the other hand, they have Ezra Miller making things complicated, so of course the greedy executives are having to choose between a ton of money or doing what's morally right. So we're probably gonna end up seeing the movie. So yeah, as of right now, DC sucks. But in the near future, perhaps that could change, especially if this Flash movie does move things in a new direction, or David Zaslav decides to greenlight a whole bunch of new movies that can steer the DC universe onto a better path. Whatever happens, hopefully they can get past this whole Ezra Miller thing and all the people being mad about the Batgirl movie, because I really enjoy the DC heroes and I really want to see them be cool in movies again, because for the past decade they've pretty much been a joke. Anyways, that's all I got for today. If you want to see more content on the channel, subscribe and also like the video, because if you're this far in the video, you probably liked it, and I hope to see you back next time I make a video.